Welcome back to Pokemon Platinum. We're finally at the top of the mountain, so oh goody, Mook Rush.
Excellent.
Can you guys just, go away?
Why don't
So,
we
You- you-
take
you-
them by their bowl cut and then grab them and then stuff
Why
their
don't we?
hair with
We'll
cereal?
take their we'll take their bowl cut and make it a plate cut.
What? You cut with a knife,
What?
Ryan. What are you, stupid?
okay, what? I don't get it.
You can also cut with scissors, Ted.
Yeah, but you can't cut with a plate, or at the very least, not any plate I've seen. That sounds dangerous.
I mean, they could. I mean, a really sharp plate.
Yeah, but why would you have a plate that sharp?
I'm just saying you could.
Okay,
The
I
answer
guess.
to that, Ted, is that you're Kung Lao.
I mean, I suppose if you were like some sort of ninjutsu chef who wants to throw your plates like throwing stars,
Ted.
which actually sounds pretty cool, but
Ted,
what?
Kung Lao.
What's Kung Lao?
The guy in Mortal Kombat who throws his hat at everyone.
Oh, odd job. Okay, all right.
Odd Job only wishes his hat was this cool. He's the one with the big metal disc on his head, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Mortal
it looks-
Kombat has so many characters; it's hard to remember all of them. Like, oh
you have
god,
you have red ninja, blue ninja, green ninja, orange ninja.
To be fair, they've been making a genuine effort to make those characters more distinct.
that is true. But it's like, hold on, it's like Mortal Kombat Armageddon was the last one before the NetherRealm buyout, not buyout, but reboot, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
god,
unless you count DC versus Mortal Kombat.
wasn't that kind of just like, wasn't that NetherRealm as well though?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's all. Yeah.
It's yeah, it was NetherRealm, I think, but
Yeah,
Ki-
Mortal Kombat Armageddon had 62 fighters. Jesus Christ, that's a huge roster.
Smash Brothers still has more.
Well, now it does. Like Mortal Kombat Armageddon came out in like 2009, so it
well,
took them another
you know,
two
Smash
games.
Brothers having a huge roster isn't as impressive as a traditional fighting game having a huge roster, because traditional fighting games have more moves per character. So they're more complex and thus harder to balance. So I'm a little bit more impressed by Ultra Street Fighter 4, which has just way too many characters to live. In fact, I think Ultra Street Fighter 4 might have killed the franchise, because after that roster, how can you ever go back to a new game with like 16 characters at the start?
Ultra Street Fighter 4 was the final.
It was the
version.
final version of Street Fighter 4, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I remember people were still pretty salty that they were doing the traditional Capcom expansion pack, new release stuff for Street Fighter 4 at that point. And I mean, granted, I know that there's a lot of salt.
To be a smidge fair, everything was DLC.
Yeah, you could do that.
So-
And it was cheaper to get the DLC expansions than just
yeah, it was
buying
like
the new game, right?
the only time you
Yeah.
had to the only version of Street Fighter 4 that you had to actually buy a new game for was going from vanilla Street Fighter 4 to Super. After that, it was all expansion packs via DLC.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I know Street Fighter V gets a lot of flack, and I'm sure a lot of it is deserved flack. But the idea of adding the characters one by one over a longer period of time, I think, is a much better model than, okay, we're gonna make you buy a whole new game again. That's mostly the same game, but we added 5 new characters. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the problem with Street Fighter V is just that it's so obnoxious to get the new characters, right? Rather than...
Well, it was also completely lacking in features when it came out.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's
they-
also true. They didn't have a... They decided they'd also release the extra stuff that you could do over time as opposed to just having more
Yeah, they
characters.
rushed the game out so that they could have it at like Evo or something.
Yeah.
So basically, we got like the most bare bones release ever, and no, if I wanted to play the most bare bones version of a fighting game, I would fly to Japan, play it in one of their arcades. God knows we're not finding that anywhere in our country.
At least when you're playing it in arcades, though, you get the novelty of using the arcade stick and the experience of doing it in an arcade in that setting, too, right?
if I want to, if I think buying an arcade stick for my console might cost the same as actually traveling to a place that has an arcade.
You know, an arcade stick is like a good arcade stick is a couple $100 at least.
Yeah, I was implying plane tickets, Ted.
I know, but it's just like it's sad that you're not exaggerating all that much. Because like I think even shitty arcade sticks are like $150.
Yeah.
So, if you want a good one, you're dropping three.
Well, they have to
at
be
least.
built sturdy because they're arcade. Because they're like legitimate arcade parts that you would be putting onto a cabinet that you expect a bajillion people to play every day.
Yeah, they have to be able to withstand little kids kicking the stick and not having it break, or somebody barfing on it, which happens.
A little kid kicking the stick would involve a lot of climbing, but it probably has happened.
Yeah, it's just those machines. I'm sure took a lot of abuse from people smacking it to, Why does old stuff always hold up better than new stuff? Because I have to replace my
because
DS
because
like
the only
6
stuff,
times.
the only old stuff we still have is the stuff that was built well.
Well, I mean, yes, granted, but my original Game Boy still works perfectly fine. But
Part
I have
of
to
it-
replace.
Part of it is actually the simplicity of the old technology. We don't have quite as many little tiny vital parts and pieces in an older systems. Like, okay, your Sega Genesis, okay, it doesn't have a hard drive, and what passes for an operating system is very simple. All the data that is inside that system is in like one chip or something, and all the other parts and pieces are non-moving parts. Not very many of them. It's not the same as like if you were to open up your laptop computer, you'd have your GPU integrated into your CPU, and then you have a moving hard drive that spins around and you don't want to scratch it. Then there's this other part, the power unit.
I just don't want my control sticks to stop working. Is that too much to ask? Nintendo, please fix the. Oh God, I hope that Joy-Con thing stops soon because I've literally.
Well, apparently they're letting you just send them in for free now.
What's the Joy-Con thing?
The Joy-Con drift.
So the control sticks for the Joy-Cons are not very well made.
Oh, so the analog sticks wear down.
Well, they still move fine. I forget the tech of it, but basically it will start.
Something goes wrong inside, and it starts to read no movement as some movement, right?
Yes, that's basically it.
Yeah,
So-
that's a common problem with cheap analog sticks. I'm glad I don't use my Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I mean so I'm hoping they're doing a revision of the normal Switch model in a
With
couple of months with the better battery.
Better
So I
battery life and hopefully sturdier Joy-Cons.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for that one. I mean,
And-
they announced different colors, so I'm hoping that also means quietly they're going to fix the problem. Because I know they're never going to announce, hey, our new Joy-Cons don't have this problem anymore, because that makes them look bad. But I hope, quietly they change.
The problem with that is that when you get into the used controller market or whatever, or the used Switch market, are you going to be able to tell the difference between one Joy-Con and another when you're specifically looking for the Joy-Con that won't break down on you?
Or for the one that will, because now it's a collector's item.
Or it has some defect in it that makes an exploit in Smash possible, and therefore you need it to be competitive, and, oh god.
Or
That's only Melee.
Or
Okay.
is it...
I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm just way too cynical for my own good.
It blew my mind that the Final Fantasy VII... I wasn't surprised that Final Fantasy VII was different prices for the greatest hits versus the normal one. It surprised me when I found out that there are two versions of the Black Label, one of which has a misprint on the back, which makes it worth an extra $20 or something like that.
Collector's items are stupid.
They are pretty stupid. I really liked the phase when Amiibo were brand new, and there was the Samus that had 2 arm cannons that went on eBay for several $100s. Like, I mean, that kind of stuff is dumb.
Well,
but I like
I can understand, because a Samus who had 2 arm cannons, well, she wouldn't be able to do much in terms of picking stuff up or manipulating mechanisms. But boy, would she be badass in combat.
It's just like, okay, Samus goes pew 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 pew, and then Ridley goes, "Hey, Samus, your shoe's untied," and she tries to tie it, but she can't because she has no hands.
And then she realizes she doesn't have laces on her armor and just blows her.
Well, I mean, Ridley's already stabbed her by that point, so he's already won. But
On further inspection, these are loafers.
Oh God, this battle's still going. Jesus Christ.
Well, because they fucking put my mind to sleep, so I couldn't do anything. Because you know how it goes. Whenever you get inflicted with sleep, it always goes the full 5 turns. For them, they wake up like immediately.
At that
Yeah.
point, I probably would have just changed Pokemon, but
Well, at that point, I was already on like turn 4.
Yeah, no. It is kind of cool to have a double battle with your rival, but this would be more impactful if it happened in a game with an actual rival, like Blue or Silver, someone who's a dickbag, but who
I mean, they
has
do-
to team up with you.
That's actually something good I liked about Heart Gold and Soul Silver is they added a few more events with Silver in order to kind of make his like. I mean, I already liked his character enough in the Game Boy, but they added a point where you can find him in the Dragon's Den, and he starts his training there. And in order for him to start, you have to fight. I think it's the Master and Claire in a rematch, and it's a double battle with you and Silver on the same team, which is a really cool kind of moment.
Yeah.
It's
Which
completely optional, I think, from what I remember. But
I always liked the moments in like Yu-Gi-Oh where Yugi and Kaiba had to team up.
it's neat when Yugi pulls a card out of his ass that, oh, my deck always had this card that surprisingly lets you do something weird with Blue Eyes White Dragon. Wow, why do I have this card?
There was
But, yeah,
this team battle with Yugi and Kaiba where Yugi initially thinks that Kaiba's learned a lesson about friendship, but he takes it to like a really cynical direction. He's like, team battles are about how well you use your partner. And Yugi's just like, bitch, really?
I mean, he's not wrong. I guess it's kind of like trusting your partner a little bit. Because, like, okay, he has to assume, at the very least, for his strategy to work, that Yugi's a smart enough player to do what he wants him to do.
This was the battle on top of the skyscraper where all the players are positioned on top of like a glass pane window, and whoever's HP goes to 0, the glass shatters and drops them down into this like hollow building shopping center place where they'll just fall and fall and fall until they hit ground level. And so it was really high stakes, and of course 4 kids made it so that like the bad guy said, "Oh, this glass is a portal to the Shadow Realm."
God. Oh God, I frickin' Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I only just found out that they're still censoring the card game.
Yeah,
Like-
they are.
Like
It's usually just stuff like cleavage, though.
yeah, but it's
Sometimes it's religious symbolism, but
yeah, but it's more that it's still happening now is the thing that I'm talking about. It's just like
Yeah.
Why now? Why
Well,
so
because it's owned by Konami, and Konami is in it for the money. And if you're in it for the money, you're trying to appease the parents who are buying these cards for all the little kids, because
they
that's where you're
brought the
getting bulk of
finger
your money.
guns back. There's an episode of the newest Yu-Gi-Oh series where the dub literally gives them back the finger guns that they used back in the original duel. They're like, it's a Wild West shootout.
The finger guns are so stupid.
No, it gets better. So the Japanese version, there's one of the bad guys is a sexy woman who has a whip, right? Okay, first off, of course they censor her cleavage because they have to. Second off, in the Japanese version, she takes her whip and she wraps it around one of the characters' necks. And so he's like grabbing at the whip, trying to keep it from choking him. In the US version, it goes around his stomach instead, but his animation still has him grabbing at his throat. Like the rope is still there, trying to pull at his throat, but the whip is around his stomach instead.
4Kids doesn't even try with their censorship. There was one point in like the final season of the original Yu-Gi-Oh where a guy shoots like Grandpa, whatever his name is. It was in the Indiana Jones flashback where he was exploring a temple and finding the Millennium Puzzle. But he shoots him in the back with a gun. In the dub, he has a very poorly drawn slingshot and a very bad stock slingshot sound effect that sounds like it came from a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon. So, yeah.
They really make it a slingshot?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh no, they did that kind of shit in One Piece all the time when 4Kids had it.
It's like the only season where 4Kids censorship made sense was the Darts series, because that was one where you were already like getting sealed into like cards or something in the Japanese version, so it was like already part of the show, and they just had to change up some dialogue and it was fine. But like battling the magician in Battle City, they like replaced the saw blades that were supposed to cut off their legs with this glowing purple disc and said it was a shadow disc that would send you to the shadow realm on contact. And it's like, okay.
Fucking Yu-Gi-Oh, man. Like, I mean, I love Yu-Gi-Oh, but it is so stupid.
But the finger guns always make me laugh nowadays because it's an ironic bit of censorship. Because in the manga, Pegasus turns Bandit Keith's finger into a gun to have him kill himself.
You see, imagine if that actually happened in the 4Kids anime where, you know, the guards are just like pointing at Yugi and it's just like, you freeze, and then he actually shoots and he's like, oh my god, what just happened? Am I an X-Man? Why are we playing card games with people? Do you think like prisoners, like guards at Yu-Gi-Oh prisons, like have dual discs and decks of cards? So if like there's an attempted jailbreak, they have to duel the prisoner in order to get him back into jail or something? These are the important questions.
The prisoner loses.
You'll never beat my prison guard deck.
The prisoner loses and just like, I guess I have to walk back into my cell now.
Oh.
Or maybe he blacks out Pokemon style and wakes up in his cell with half his money. Half of 0 is still 0.
Pot of greed, that's contraband, inmate.